When you wake up in the morning, the first breath you take, it is already a gift. But so often, we treat it as if it has no value. We rush, we complain, we chase after things that, in the end, leave us empty. Life passes day by day, moment by moment, and without noticing, we waste it. The truth is very simple: you don't own your life. You are only borrowing it for a limited time. And once this time is gone, it never returns. That is why to waste your life means to throw away the most precious thing you will ever receive. So the question is not whether life is short or long. The question is, what do you do with the time that is given to you? Do you live with awareness, with purpose, with courage? Or do you allow distractions, fears, and excuses to steal it away from you? Every moment is a decision. Every action is a seed. And one day, you will harvest what you planted. That is why I say to you today, do not waste your life. When you wake up in the morning, before the world begins to demand something from you, there is a moment of silence. In that silence, you breathe. It is simple, yet profound. This breath is not guaranteed, it is not promised, and it is not something you earned. It is simply given. Life is given. And yet, how often do we recognize its value? Most people open their eyes and immediately fall back into the rhythm of noise, chasing after things, running from fears, or numbing themselves with distractions. Without even realizing it, they start wasting what is most valuable, their life. The truth is not complicated, it is not hidden. Life is fragile, temporary, and fleeting. You cannot hold it in your hands. You cannot store it for later. You cannot pause it, and you cannot rewind it. Once a day has passed, it is gone forever. And still many live as if they have an endless supply of time. They procrastinate, telling themselves there will be a better day to begin, a better season to change, a better opportunity to start. But the longer they wait, the more life slips away. To waste life does not always mean to do nothing. Sometimes wasting life comes in the form of being busy with everything except what truly matters. A person can spend their whole day working, moving, and speaking, but if none of those actions are aligned with purpose, then what have they really accomplished? Activity is not the same as meaning. Movement is not the same as progress. Filling time does not mean you are truly alive. So the first awareness that must come is the recognition that wasting life is not only about laziness, it is also about distraction, about living without clarity, about allowing the external world to dictate how you spend your most precious resource. Look closely and you will see how easy it is to let time disappear. Hours are consumed by endless scrolling, by comparing yourself to others, by chasing approval, by replaying regrets, or worrying about what has not even happened yet. In each of those moments, the present is lost. And the present is all you truly have. The past no longer exists. The future has not yet arrived, but the present is alive. To waste your life is to waste the present moment again and again until you no longer notice that it is gone. This is why the first step to not wasting life is awareness. Without awareness, life dissolves quietly, and you may not even realize it until years have passed. Awareness means you pause, you reflect, you ask yourself, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Is this leading me toward growth, toward truth, toward something that will matter when I look back on it? Or am I simply passing time, avoiding the deeper questions, avoiding the discipline that is required to live fully? Another way life is wasted is by living according to the expectations of others. Many people structure their entire existence around what their family, their culture, or society tells them is right. They study what they are told to study, they work in jobs they do not love, they live lifestyles that do not align with who they really are. Outwardly, it may appear successful, but inwardly, there is emptiness. To ignore your own path, to silence the voice within, to trade authenticity for acceptance, that is another form of wasting life. Because the life you live is not truly your own. It belongs to someone else's idea of you. And when your time comes to an end, you will realize that you never truly lived, you only performed. Life is also wasted when fear becomes the guiding force. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of loss. These fears build invisible walls around us, and before long, we accept them as the natural limits of our existence. How many dreams never begin because of fear? How many words remain unsaid? How many acts of courage never expressed? Simply because someone chose safety over growth. This is how life is wasted. Not in a sudden moment, but slowly, through all the opportunities that were abandoned. Fear is powerful, but only because we allow it to be. In reality, life was never meant to be controlled or guaranteed. Uncertainty is not a mistake, it is part of existence. To wait for perfect conditions, to wait until every risk has disappeared, is to wait forever. And in that waiting, life is wasted. There is also the subtle way life is wasted through neglect of the inner self. We care for our possessions, for our image, for our comfort, but rarely for our mind and spirit. When the inner world is neglected, when there is no discipline, no practice, no reflection, then even achievements and successes will feel hollow. People may reach a goal, gain recognition, or accumulate wealth, but inside they remain restless, dissatisfied, searching for something that cannot be found outside. This emptiness is not the result of lack, but of misdirection. They sought fulfillment in the external world while ignoring the inner. And so, despite having everything, life feels wasted. To not waste life means to live awake, to live with intention. It means not allowing days to pass in unconscious repetition, not surrendering to the weight of habit, not numbing yourself with comfort. It means returning again and again to the awareness of how precious this moment is. It means choosing clarity over distraction, courage over fear, authenticity over imitation. It means treating every breath as something extraordinary, because it truly is. When you observe the way people move through their days, you begin to notice patterns. Most of the time, they are not truly present in what they are doing. The body may be sitting, walking, or working, but the mind is somewhere else. Either it is stuck in memories of the past or projecting into possibilities of the future. Rarely does it rest here, in the now. And this is one of the great reasons why life is wasted, because people do not live in their own moment. They carry regrets, mistakes, and pain from the past as if these events can still be changed. Or they are consumed by worries, dreams, and fantasies about the future, as if imagining tomorrow will make it certain. In this way, they miss the only thing that is truly alive, the present moment. Living fully means to reclaim the present, to recognize that this moment is not preparation for something else. It is not a rehearsal. It is not a waiting room for a better day. This moment is life itself. But when you live unconsciously, you overlook it. You begin to treat the present as ordinary, and yet it is the most extraordinary thing you will ever have. Think about how many mornings you have opened your eyes, and without even realizing it, you treated that day as disposable. How many conversations have you had while your attention was elsewhere? How many meals eaten without tasting? How many hours passed where you were physically present, but mentally absent? This is how life is quietly wasted. Not by one grand decision, but through countless small acts of unawareness. There is a deeper truth that must be understood: where your attention goes, your life goes. If your attention is caught in the past, then your life is stuck in what has already ended. If your attention is trapped in the future, then your life is lived in something that has not yet arrived. But if your attention is in the present, then your life flows here, where it belongs. This is why training the mind is essential. Without training, the mind becomes restless, scattered, distracted. It chases every thought, every impulse, every fear. And with it, your life is carried away. But when the mind is disciplined, when awareness is cultivated, suddenly, you see that the richness of life has always been here. It was only covered by layers of noise. Consider how easily we allow external forces to steal our attention. A screen notification, a piece of gossip, the opinion of someone else. These are enough to pull us away from what truly matters. Day after day, we surrender our focus to whatever demands it, without questioning whether it is worthy of our time. Slowly, this becomes habit, and soon you are no longer directing your life, you are being directed. To live in such a state is to waste the potential of your mind and the gift of your time. For what is your life, if not the sum of where you place your attention? This is why awareness must be practiced, not only in silence or meditation, but in every ordinary action. When you walk, walk with awareness. When you eat, eat with awareness. When you listen to someone, listen fully, without preparing your response in your head. When you work, be present in your work, instead of rushing toward its completion. These simple practices return your mind to the present, and each time it returns, life becomes deeper, richer, more real. What once seemed ordinary becomes extraordinary because you are truly there to experience it. Living in the present also means releasing the weight of comparison. Many waste their lives by measuring themselves against others, thinking that happiness will be found when they reach the same achievements, possessions, or status. But comparison pulls you out of your own path and traps you in someone else's. The reality is that no two lives are meant to be identical. Your experiences, your lessons, your struggles, your strengths, these are unique to you. To compare yourself is to ignore the gift of your individuality, and in doing so, you waste the chance to live authentically. The moment you stop measuring yourself against others, you begin to reclaim your time, your energy, and your presence. There is also the matter of control. Many waste life by trying to control everything, resisting what comes and clinging to what is leaving. They believe that if they fight hard enough, they can shape reality to match their expectations. But life does not bend to control. Life is movement, change, impermanence. To live fully is not to control every outcome, but to meet each moment with openness. When you learn to accept that everything is temporary, the joy, the pain, the success, the failure, you also learn to value each moment more deeply. Because you understand it cannot last, you stop wasting it. This practice of awareness, of presence, of acceptance. It is not easy, because the habits of distraction are strong. But it is necessary if you do not want your life to dissolve into meaningless repetition. Every breath is an invitation to return, to anchor yourself in now. And every time you return, you recover a piece of your life that would otherwise be lost. There is another way life is wasted, and it is through the misunderstanding of struggle. Many people believe that struggle is a punishment, something unfair, something to be avoided at all costs. They think that if life were truly good, it would be easy, comfortable, and without obstacles. But this belief itself leads to wasted years, because in avoiding struggle, they avoid growth. The truth is that every challenge, every difficulty, every hardship you encounter carries within it a lesson, a chance to expand, a chance to discover strength that you did not know was there. To run from struggle is to run from the very experiences that could shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable. When you look at nature, you see this truth reflected everywhere. The seed must break before the plant can emerge. The caterpillar must dissolve before it can transform into a butterfly. The body itself becomes stronger only when it is pushed beyond comfort, when muscles are stretched and fibers are broken so they can rebuild. In the same way, the human spirit develops resilience, wisdom, and depth only when it is confronted with challenges. Without difficulty, there is no growth. Without discomfort, there is no transformation. If you insist on comfort, you may feel safe, but you remain stagnant. And a stagnant life is a wasted life. People often misunderstand happiness, believing it comes from removing all struggle. But true fulfillment arises from facing challenges with awareness and overcoming them. The sense of meaning, of accomplishment, of strength comes not from avoiding difficulty, but from engaging with it fully. When you reflect on your own life, you will notice that the moments that shaped you most deeply were not the easy ones. They were the times when you were tested, when you did not know if you would succeed, when you had to fight against your own limitations. These moments carve something into your being that comfort never could. To waste life is to avoid these opportunities, to choose the path of least resistance again and again, until one day you realize that you never became what you could have been. Struggle is not your enemy. Struggle is the doorway to your own potential. If you avoid it, you avoid yourself. This is why fear and comfort together are such dangerous companions. They whisper to you to stay safe, to stay where you are, to not risk, to not try, to not push. But in obeying them, you sacrifice the chance to grow into the fullness of who you are meant to be. There is also a deeper layer to struggle. It teaches humility. When everything goes your way, it is easy to believe that you are in complete control, that life owes you success, that effort will always guarantee results. But struggle humbles you. It reminds you that you are not above life's laws, that failure is part of existence, that not everything can be bent to your will. And this humility is not weakness. It is wisdom. It teaches you patience. It teaches you resilience. It teaches you to keep walking even when the outcome is uncertain. These qualities cannot be learned in comfort. They are forged only in struggle. Another way life is wasted is when people mistake struggle as a reason to stop. They face one failure, one rejection, one difficulty, and they conclude that they are not capable, that it is not worth continuing. But what if the struggle was not a sign to stop, but a sign to grow? What if the difficulty was there to show you what must change within you before you can reach the next level? Every obstacle can be a teacher, but only if you choose to learn. To ignore the lesson is to repeat the same mistakes again and again, and in this repetition, years are lost. Think of how many dreams remain unrealized because someone gave up at the first sign of resistance. Think of how many talents remain undeveloped because someone did not want to endure the discipline required. Think of how many lives remain unfulfilled because people chose comfort over growth. This is the silent tragedy of wasted life. It does not happen because of one large decision, but through countless small choices to avoid discomfort. And yet, those choices shape everything. Struggle also reveals the truth about what matters. When you go through difficulty, you begin to see clearly which relationships, which values, which purposes are worth holding on to, and which are not. Struggle strips away what is superficial and shows you what is essential. If life were always easy, you would carry many unnecessary burdens without even realizing it. It is only when tested that you discover what truly gives your life meaning. In this way, struggle does not just build strength, it builds clarity. When you shift your perspective, you begin to see struggle not as an enemy, but as a necessary part of the journey. It is the fire that purifies, the weight that strengthens, the storm that deepens your roots. Without it, you remain shallow, fragile, untested. With it, you become resilient, capable, and wise. The difference lies not in whether struggle appears, but in how you respond to it. If you resist, you waste your life fighting what is natural. If you embrace it, you transform and discover a life of depth and meaning. Many people waste their lives by living in constant pursuit of what they do not yet have, forgetting to value what is already present. They believe that happiness is always located somewhere else, in the next achievement, in the next possession, in the next milestone. As a result, their entire life becomes a chase, an endless running towards something that always seems just out of reach. When one goal is reached, satisfaction does not arrive because the mind immediately moves to the next. This creates a cycle where contentment is always postponed, where peace is always delayed, and life is lived as if the present moment is never enough. But in this way, life is wasted because what you seek is never actually found in the future. It is only ever available here, in the now. When you look at children, You see a natural joy in the smallest of things. A child can laugh for hours at something simple. They can find wonder in an ordinary moment because they are not yet trapped in the illusion of someday. But as people grow, they lose this simplicity. They are taught that happiness must be earned, that life will only begin once they achieve certain conditions, once they prove themselves worthy. Slowly, the natural joy of simply being alive is replaced with a restless striving. And yet, if you examine it carefully, you realize that no external achievement can give permanent fulfillment. The joy of success fades, the excitement of new possessions weakens, and the recognition from others is always temporary. If your sense of meaning depends on these things, you will spend your life chasing without rest. This is why gratitude is so essential. Gratitude does not mean ignoring what you want to achieve or pretending that challenges do not exist. It means recognizing the value of what is already here while you continue to grow. It is the ability to see the gift in a breath, in a meal, in a conversation, in the chance to wake up to a new day. Gratitude anchors you in the present and reminds you that life is not something you are waiting to begin. It is already happening. Without gratitude, you may accomplish many things, but you will always feel that something is missing. With gratitude, even small moments carry richness and depth. Another way life is wasted is by living only on the surface without taking time to reflect on deeper questions. People can spend decades working, earning, building, and achieving without ever asking themselves why they are doing it, what it all means, and whether it aligns with their true values. They may appear successful on the outside, but inside there is confusion, a quiet dissatisfaction that no amount of external accomplishment can cover. Reflection is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Without it, you may reach the top of the ladder only to discover that it was leaning against the wrong wall. Reflection allows you to realign your actions with your essence, to ensure that the way you spend your life is truly your own. To live without reflection is to live mechanically, repeating patterns handed down by society, by family, by habit, without ever questioning if they serve your growth. Reflection breaks this cycle. It allows you to step back and see clearly where your time and energy are going. It reveals whether you are investing in what truly matters or whether you are being carried by momentum into a life that does not feel authentic. When you reflect deeply, you begin to understand that not everything deserves your attention, not every path deserves your commitment. This clarity prevents you from wasting life on pursuits that will not bring meaning. There is also the subtle but powerful way life is wasted through over-identification with the past and the labels you carry. People define themselves by their mistakes, their failures, their circumstances, or even by the praise they once received. They trap themselves in a story of who they were, and in doing so limit who they can become. But life is not meant to be lived as a repetition of yesterday. Each day is an opportunity to choose differently, to step into a new direction, to let go of old patterns. If you cling too tightly to an old identity, you prevent growth. And if you prevent growth, you waste the unfolding of life itself. Another important awareness is that life is not measured only by how much you accomplish, but by how deeply you experience. Many people chase quantity, more money, more possessions, more recognition, but neglect quality. They forget that the richness of life comes not from how much you collect, but from how fully you are present in each experience. A simple meal shared with awareness can bring more fulfillment than an expensive feast consumed in distraction. A conversation listened to deeply can bring more connection than hours of empty talk. If you sacrifice depth for quantity, you may appear busy and accomplished, but inside there is hollowness. Silence is also something many avoid, and in doing so, they waste the opportunity to hear themselves clearly. In silence, distractions fade, and what is hidden within rises to the surface. But because silence can feel uncomfortable, many fill every moment with noise. Television, music, constant conversation, endless activity. They fear being alone with their own thoughts. Yet without silence, you cannot truly know yourself. And without knowing yourself, you risk living a life that is not authentic. Silence is not empty, it is full of answers, but only if you are willing to listen. Life is wasted when one forgets the importance of presence, reflection, gratitude, authenticity, and silence. These are not abstract ideas, they are practices that shape the way you experience each moment. To ignore them is to drift unconsciously, to allow days, months, and years to pass without truly living. To remember them is to reclaim your time, to make each moment meaningful, and to live in a way that honors the gift you have been given. Life is not something to be wasted, because once it is gone, there is no way to call it back. Every breath you take, every step you walk, every moment you live, it is part of a journey that cannot be repeated. To waste your life is not only to lose time, but to lose yourself. It is to live without awareness, without presence, without courage, without reflection. But when you choose to live consciously, everything changes. You begin to see the value in each moment. You begin to recognize the lessons in every struggle. You begin to free yourself from the chains of fear and comparison. You start to live not for the expectations of others, but in alignment with your own truth. You find strength in challenges, clarity in silence, gratitude in the ordinary, and meaning in the present. This is the invitation life offers you each day. To stop running, to stop postponing, to stop waiting for the right time. The right time is always now. Do not waste your life chasing shadows, fearing failure, or surrendering to distractions. Live with awareness. Live with purpose. Live with authenticity. Because in the end, the measure of your life will not be how much you had, but how deeply you lived.